I've been trying every single Overclock in Deep Rock Galactic to tell you what they're good at and what they aren't. This week marks the last stop on our second circuit. Gunner is back with the destructive autocannon and the rapid-fire burst-fire gun. Let's start with the new Overclock. Mortar Rounds gives a massive boost to AoE damage and radius, but removes the base direct damage from your shots. You can bring it back with direct damage upgrades, but it's unnecessary. You also get hit with a huge rate of fire reduction and a significant decrease in ammo. It also makes your shots arc, effectively capping your maximum range while making it a little harder to aim. What this gets you is a powerful AoE clearing device that packs enough punch to take out tougher targets, but ends up being extremely difficult to use. You'll destroy grunts in 2 shots, and everything else dies pretty quick, but you'll really need to learn how to use it right, not just to deal with the arc, but the fact that you're now capable of dealing friendly fire damage with just the explosions. While you may have a 50% resist to this damage, your teammates do not, unless they're also playing Gunner, so you really need to be careful to avoid killing yourself or your friends with this. The Fear mod can help with getting enemies out of your face so you can shoot them easier, but you really need to be careful. Combat mobility effectively removes the movement speed penalty while firing, along with a sizable increase to rate of fire growth speed, and a reduction to base spread, in return for a halved mag size. All of these bonuses are really helpful for staying in the fight. The mobility allows you to keep away from guards that push through your fire, and the fire rate growth especially helps you keep at maximum DPS output if you do ever need to stop firing to reposition. The base spread makes your assault more accurate overall, and it makes it easier to hit airborne or medium range targets. You'll have to deal with reloading a lot, so Born Ready is recommended. Neurotoxin Payload slightly increases your AoE radius and gives each explosion a chance to inflict the Neurotoxin debuff in exchange for reducing your ammo and AoE damage. Overall, this is an extremely powerful overclock for dealing with crowds of grunts and grunt adjacents, especially when paired with fear to keep the bugs off you while the neurotoxin whittles them down. That combined with the debuff's potent slow makes this a monster of ammo efficiency. You can almost afford to tap fire this thing and watch as all the enemies just waste away. Praetorians and other tough targets will need some more intervention than that, but the weapon as a whole is slightly less reliable for swarmers, but only slightly. It's a great overclock for the patient gunner. Splintering Shells is a simple clean that boosts your AoE damage and radius. It's a nice overclock that makes taking care of crowds a little faster and easier without hurting any other aspects of the weapon.
Another day at the office. Covering fire!
Big Bertha gives you a big direct damage bonus and a reduced base spread in exchange for an ammo and mag size penalty. This overclock makes the autocannon much better at dealing with tougher targets, everything from guards all the way up to Praetorians. The base spread reduction also makes the weapon far more accurate. Overall, it's much better at dealing with light crowds, but for full-on swarms, the mag size penalty in particular is going to hold you back a little. Be prepared to reload a lot. If you can work around that, either with good positioning or Born Ready and a secondary that can pick up the slack, then this is a great overclock for shoring up the autocannon's main weaknesses. Meanwhile, Carpet Bomber is basically the exact opposite. You get a significant boost to AoE radius and damage and a big direct damage penalty. This overclock makes the autocannon lean far more heavily into its niche. It's much better at dealing with crowds now, and accuracy is less important since a majority of your damage is in the AoE, although falloff is still a thing. Tougher enemies or enemies that resist explosive damage will give you a lot more trouble now though, particularly guards. You want some decent single target to cover this overclock's weaknesses, but if you want the most AoE heavy gunner build you can get, this is the perfect overclock for you. Finally, Composite Drums. This clean gives you more ammo and a faster reload. If you're running Born Ready, the reload speed might not make much of a difference to you, but especially if you aren't, it's an entire 10% off the longest reload in the game, which can be very nice, even if it's only half a second. The extra ammo is also good for those who like to lean heavily on the autocannon, although if you use the ammo upgrade and think that's generally enough for you, the clean can allow you to run the mag size upgrade and keep the same total ammo since mag size is added to your total ammo count. Overall, it's a good clean for making the gun more reliable. Now for the Bert. Starting with Lead Spray. This gives a massive damage boost with a massive penalty to your base spread. This makes the gun wildly inaccurate even at short ranges, making it unreliable for anything past point blank. In return, you get a massive rapid burst damage weapon capable of chunking tough enemies like oppressors. Overall, it's a great close-range single target, which makes it a good complement for most autocannon builds that focus on AoE. Even when paired with another primary, this can give you a big spike of damage to clear out troublesome enemies as quickly as possible, although you have to get close to get the most out of it. If you like playing up close in the front lines, this is the overclock for you. Experimental Rounds also gives a hefty damage increase, but this time in exchange for a large ammo and mag size penalty. This fills a similar burst damage role as Lead Spray, but while it has significantly less ammo and slightly less power, it has the advantage of a much better accuracy. It's far more reliable at range and overall more versatile. It's easier to hit weak points with and use against distant or small targets like guards, Mactera, and menaces, and it's overall more broadly reliable. The price to pay for that reliability is an ammo pool small enough to go from 100% to empty in a single swarm, although the penalties are all additive, so taking the ammo upgrade might fix that if you're willing to sacrifice the weak point damage. In short, while Lead Spray is better against Praetorians and Oppressors due to its sheer power and the ease of getting close to those enemies, Experimental Rounds is a more well-rounded, if ammo-light, alternative for those who'd rather stay out of biting distance. Full Chamber Seal is a clean in the same vein. It gives a small damage boost and a reload speed increase. This is much better for builds that use the Burt as more than just a tough target buster, but even if you're just using it for that, the lack of any harsh penalties gives you a lot more build freedom to work with. Micro Flechettes is a very different beast. It doubles your ammo, gives you a massive boost to mag size, and gives you massive reductions to spread per shot and recoil, all in return for a hefty damage penalty. This overclock transforms the Burt from an ammo-light burst damage dealer into a long-lasting fallback option for either taking a load off of low ammo primary builds or filling downtime while waiting for board ready to trigger, for example. You'll definitely want to take something capable of dealing with tough targets as the damage penalty is severe, but it can deal with light crowds very well and synergizes well with the stun mod as the mag size boost lets you spam it everywhere without needing to reload as much. The accuracy bonuses also make it far better at long range, particularly with the extended burst upgrade, making this overclock a reliable jack of all trades, although it isn't particularly good at anything. Right next to that we have Compact Mags. This also gives a big ammo boost, but instead trades it for a lower fire rate and slower reload. This is another good ammo longevity overclock for leaning on the Burt more, but it's much less transformative. While the Micro Flechettes is more of a sustained DPS utility option, this one keeps the weapon true to its burst nature. It's great for Mactera, and while you lose a little bit of DPS, the damage per shot doesn't go down at all, so it's a sizable total damage bump that makes the weapon more of a thing you can lean on for supportive fire. The reload speed penalty is quite significant, but if you're pairing it with the Autocannon, then that's just more mileage you're going to get out of Born Ready. Composite Casings is another ammo boosting overclock, this time a clean, and it comes paired with a rate of fire boost. This is a decent clean for those who want to get a little more mileage out of the gun without sacrificing a whole lot, and the fire rate boost also helps burst down Praetorians and Oppressors, although to take full advantage of it beyond short range, you'll probably want to have the spread reduction upgrade in Tier 1. Finally, we have Electro Minelets. This overclock reduces your mag size and slightly reduces your damage, but makes shots that hit the ground turn into mini-mines similar to the Cryo Minelets overclock on the Nux. The penalty you'll feel the hardest is the mag size, so you'll want to compensate for that with either the reload speed or the mag size upgrade. Overall, it doesn't hurt the weapon much, and the electricity debuff the Minelet supply is good for a consistent source of slow for troublesome enemies, or an extra damage supplement if you pair it with blow-through. And that's all the overclocks for the Autocannon and Burt. One is great for mincing crowds, the other tends to break tough targets, but both can be put to a good amount of uses.